This one's wife. She is bizarre. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. It's been a little while since I've looked at the input of Daniela Elsa, writing for news.com.au. And I thought I would visit her once again to see her observations in relation to the latest appearance from This One's Wife. She states as follows: This One's Wife, the Duchess of Sussex, has a new thing. Oh, sure. She's already got a centuries-old title, a princely chappie, a Japanese-style tea house, and a Pinterest meets Petit Trion chicken coop. But now she's invented her very own word. Having twice watched This One's Wife's fortune appearance, my key takeaway is, huh? Now pausing there. The Suggars watched it and they were mesmerised because, well, their IQs are in shoe sizes. But anybody else recognised this is a word salad. I know the words, but when put together they don't mean anything. But the fact of the matter is that Daniela Elsa has focused on a new invention, a new word from This One's Wife: learns. Not learnings or lessons or insights, but learns. Usually a verb that in her perfectly manicured hands became a much repeated noun at this week's Fortune Most Powerful Women Summit event in Washington, D.C. In about 5 minutes during her appearance at the Power Confab membership, $22,300 Australian dollars, the Duchess debuted her new creation as she talked about the launch of her As Ever lifestyle line. Just call it the flower sprinkle of verbiage. The audience heard, "Year one for any founder is just a lot of learns." She talked about my learns. We got, it's just been a lot of learns. For the Duchess, it's 2025 is a year of learns. The Duchess of Sussex said, amongst other indecipherable things, jam was the origin story, and holiday, we have to be ready for holiday, content that can meet different rooms, and my intention with As Ever is getting back to things that are tactile. Elsa states, and I thought I spoke fluent Sussex. The whole 20-minute sit-down was a salad composé of had-to-be-Googled jargon and business term dropping, steady state, mastige, SCOOS, UGC, CPG. At the same time, the inert audience failed to chuck along with her attempts at relatability. Wearing custom-made Christian Dior heels that date back to her princely son's christening inside a castle probably didn't help matters. The vibe in the room, if it can be assessed based on a video, was kind of awkward, and the 43-year-old repeatedly fiddled with her hair. On YouTube, the video has 2,000 thumbs up and 4,500 thumbs down. As far as This One's Wife's interviews over the years go, it lacked the Sussex's sourcing of royal revelations and jabs at those cold-blooded krauts with the crown across the pond. Aside from a reference to healing, the Duchess of Sussex managed to not once reference her in-laws. But her fortune outing was still bizarre. This One's Wife spoke to Alison Chantel, the magazine's editor-in-chief, for 20 minutes. Impeccably dressed, flawlessly made up, and as poised and word-perfect in her delivery as a presidential candidate on the stump. Her answers were theoretically perfect. Not a stumble, not an not a falter. And yet, it was all so empty. Having watched it twice, Elsa could not tell you one meaningful thing that I learned about entrepreneur This One's Wife, despite the fact that she stopped worrying and learned to love acronyms. The Duchess of Sussex is more polished than a De Beers Marquis cut stone, but she has the rare ability to talk at length and say nothing of any substance. She should really think about politics. Her appearance hit all her usual bingo card numbers: the charming story about her lean years in Hollywood pre-suits, jam, a reference to her normie teenage years in Los Angeles, jam, the devoted mum cooing, jam, and the breadcrumbing of possible future avenues, short-form video, a cookbook. And yet, it was all just word-shaped noise. Non-answer answers that felt as pre-prepared as a supermarket microwave or microwave, ready meal, as she pushed the everything super party line. The Sussexes downgraded Netflix deal, not dissimilar to Higher Ground and the Obamas deal, and the extension was such an incredible sign of the strength of our partnership, which is also exciting because it gives us flexibility about shopping content elsewhere. The question of a third season of With Love Meghan swerved like an Olympic-level dodgeball player. After a year of learns, so we're able to say 8 episodes for 2 seasons, it's a lot of work, and people want content in different sizes, so something they're testing now is, how can I give you a recipe in 2 minutes, as she explores all the options of what it could look like. Her very normal startup-sized staff of fewer than 10 people, well, she's been very decisive about having a lean team. Asked what her confessions would be as a female founder, given the name of her podcast, she came back with a long-winded answer that managed to mention how the debut As Ever drops sold out, and that, I think my learns were to continue to give yourself the grace to have to pivot. If she got caught in the rain and drenched, ironically, by staying so relentlessly on a peppy propagandist message, this one's wife has missed a massive opportunity to thoroughly own her missteps, flubs, and commercial oopsies. One of the most successful podcasts in the UK is writer Elizabeth Day's How to Fail, on which heavy hitters including Gloria Steinem, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and Margaret Atwood, along with a plethora of starry names, have turned up to frankly and very really talk about their career and personal blunders and botches. There's a reason there are 20 series of it, and the show has been downloaded more than 45 million times. People want, and they relate to real. How refreshing and how relatable it would have been for this one's wife to sit on the Fortune stage and just admit, I got it wrong, I miscalculated, I overlooked a certain detail. It didn't occur to anyone on my staff that ARO sounded like a pappy name somewhere second wives would go to dry out, or a 4-star B&B. A simple example. Last week, As Ever released a photo showing this one's wife retrieving a pot of jam from a bubbling pot using a jarring lifter upside down. See parts passim. The internet immediately twigged and called the flub out. So why not say, we took the photo in a blink and I didn't realise. No one has ever started a successful business without stuffing up, misguessing, overshooting or underestimating. Thomas Edison said on his years of fiddling away in his lab to invent the light bulb, I know several thousand things that won't work. One thing this one's wife did say, the Christmas and possibly last episode of With Love will be out next month, in which she demonstrates, she said, lots of gift wrapping techniques. You know what we always say, we have to be ready for holiday. Now, Daniela Elsa raises an interesting point. With regard to the podcast that she references, part of its appeal is that there are people admitting, yes, I got it wrong, here are the mistakes that I made. So why doesn't this one's wife do this? Well, you might immediately state, well, as a narcissist, she thinks she's perfect, so she wouldn't do that. That's largely correct, and I'll come back to it in a moment. Certain cleverer narcissists would recognise the value of admitting something didn't work in order to manipulate, to make them look like they're humble, to make it look like they're paying attention to what others do, to make them more likeable. It isn't a genuine admission. It is simply another form of manipulation. But for a less involved narcissist such as this one's wife, her narcissism tells her its default position is this. You're brilliant. Anything that goes wrong isn't your fault, it's somebody else's fault. If it didn't work out, it's because somebody didn't do their job, or it wasn't the right time of year, or the moon was in the wrong phase, or it was Harry's fault, or the royal family have been briefing against you, or it's those miserable press people, or it's the horrible haters. Her narcissism does not allow her to ever contemplate that she got something wrong. She is always right, correct, brilliant, fantastic, beautiful, amazing. And therefore, she can't do real because she isn't real, because she's an artifice. She can't admit that something went wrong because she never does anything wrong. She cannot show authenticity, even though she thinks she's authentic, because she is completely inauthentic. Everything with her, when it comes to involvement with other people, is performative. And therefore, That is what you saw when she gave her speech, and that she not only issues a word salad for reasons that I've explained separately, but utilises this word learns because she's not very bright and she mangles the English language. Remember when she didn't understand the difference between visceral and guttural? And she utilises the word learns because she's actually inarticulate. Yes, she was able to sit and deliver what she had to say without any hesitations or ums or ers, because in effect she's like a robot that's been programmed to spiel this word salad. But she uses the word learns because she's dim. She thinks it sounds good and doesn't realise that it makes her sound stupid. And the reason that she can never go for real and admit that she got things wrong, her narcissism simply will not let her. And this once again explains why her behaviour seems so bizarre. It's part of the default position governed by her narcissism. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.